We would now like to convene a special session of the forum dedicated to a closer look at innovative solutions to strengthening ethical third-party intermediary relationships with a specific focus on the medical technology sector. This sector has been a particular leader across the America's health systems when it comes to identifying best practices and building capacity for ethical company third-party relationships. And here we're talking about the manufacturers of medical technology, as well as the third parties themselves, and a truly sort of symbiosis in terms of the relationship of ensuring ethical relationships and ethical conduct. I'd now like to bring together Hugo Alberto von Ancken, Regional Sector Lead for Latin America and Healthcare Compliance at Johnson & Johnson's Medical Device Companies, as well as Nancy Travis, Vice President of Global Compliance and Governance at the Advanced Medical Technology Association, or AdvaMed, to share some perspectives on where we are, where we've come from, and to showcase an impressive new resource that is truly transforming the space in the region. Hugo, we'll now turn the floor over to you, and we'll have follow you with Nancy. Over to you, Hugo.
Thank you very much, Andrew, and hello, everyone. I hope everybody is doing well. Well, my name is Hugo von Ancken, and I have the privilege of leading the healthcare compliance team in Latin America for the medical devices business at Johnson & Johnson. I would like to thank the organization of the America's Health Ethics Virtual Forum, and to say it's an absolute pleasure for me to be here during these 2 days with such an incredible group of professionals that in one way or another contribute to enhancing the standards of ethics across different industries and including the healthcare. And the topic that we're going to be covering on this segment could not be of greater relevance. Like many other industries, it's well known that MedTech companies have been partnering with third parties as suppliers or sales and marketing intermediaries. And generally speaking, the interactions between some of these TPIs with healthcare professionals and government officials have an important compliance risk, which may dramatically harm healthcare systems and ultimately patients. Although it has evolved over the past years, third-party risk management, it is still an area of challenge. Multinationals and big corporations typically have a need to work with thousands of third parties that may expose them to corruption and reputational risks. And while the majority of them might not pose a significant risk, it is critical to identify with the ones with the highest risk in an effective and systematic manner. And in that context, many companies have been implementing and enhancing compliance programs to ensure many things, including a solid and comprehensive process to identify, assess, mitigate, and monitor risks effectively. A due diligence process that is proportionate to the risk, which has to do with risk segmentation, and to develop a company-wide approach to risk management with consistent standards, policies, procedure, including, and this is particularly important, automated data systems and tools to support TPI management. But apart from all that, which are critical aspects of a compliance program, there's one thing on TPI risk management that is becoming more and more important, which is how the industry and many other stakeholders can help, support, and really empower these business partners to enhance their compliance capabilities by taking a few steps further to really help changing their risk profiles. These partners are often small and less resourced business, sometimes small family business. And the different stakeholders within the healthcare value chain, taking accountability from that perspective, have been trying to find ways and solutions to actively empower these business partners and ultimately have a more significant impact in terms of shaping a business environment across the sector. And it's within that context that I would like to thank the Advanced Medical Technology Association, AdvaMed, for orchestrating a very important effort that will significantly help those players building and enhancing those capabilities. And on that specific point, I would like to turn it over to Nancy Travis, Vice President, Global Compliance and Government at AdvaMed, so she can share more with us on the topic. Nancy, over to you.
Thank you so much, Hugo, for that kind introduction. It's a pleasure to join all of you today. Thank you. A big thanks to the organizers who have put together this wonderful event. It's my honor to join you. It's a real privilege to be here. And thank you also to Johnson & Johnson for your leadership in this space. We would not have gotten our program off the ground without Johnson & Johnson's support and encouragement, and we owe a debt of gratitude to you as well. So I think some of you met me yesterday when I first addressed the conference. As Hugo stated, my name is Nancy Travis. I'm the Vice President for Global Compliance and Governance here at the Advanced Medical Technology Association. Most of you know us as AdvaMed. We are a U.S. industry association that represents medical device manufacturers and diagnostic companies. Our companies that are our members make the full gamut of medical technology, diagnostic tools, both blood testing equipment, as well as radiation, X-ray, and then therapeutic radiation oncology products. Also surgical tools and therapeutic devices such as implantable defibrillators, pacemakers, artificial joints, really everything that you could want in the medical device space. We also represent the manufacturers of the ventilators and the PPE that has been so much in demand in the recent pandemic. So we are well placed to share our expertise, and we have really valued our partnership with our colleagues in Latin America who have taught us a few things too as we've worked through these issues of ethics in the healthcare space. So I do have a couple slides I'm going to try to share. And if that does not work well, I'm going to ask my very capable assistants to share them for me. So let's give this a try. All right. How's that looking? Do I have any feedback? Okay. Having a little trouble moving back and forth. I do apologize, everybody. Okay, today I want to talk to you about the Global Distributor Compliance Toolkit. It's not a Zoom call without somebody having trouble with their slides. So I know many of you are well aware of the challenges of working with third parties, and they have been, working with third parties across the board has been challenging for companies, medical device companies, regulators. They're one step removed from the actual manufacturer. So even if the manufacturer has a high standard of ethics and is following a code of ethics, sometimes the third party they're working with doesn't have access to that code, or doesn't understand that code, or has not embraced the compliance topics as wholeheartedly as the manufacturer does. Also, sometimes there's a disconnect even between government expectations and between the manufacturers themselves and then the third parties. For many of the companies that I represent or that I work with who are based in the United States, when they're overseas, there can be additional differences related to cultural misunderstandings, language differences, and even honestly differences in codes of ethics and legal structures. So this environment is what has created the situation in which we have come to consider relationships with third parties to be one of the highest risks in the compliance space. If you look at recent prosecutions in the US Department of Justice, many of them have targeted medical device manufacturers' relationships with their third parties and a failure to abide by the highest standards of ethics with that third party. So we don't need to belabor the downside of a lapse in ethics in distributing medical devices. is we can get erroneous prescribing decisions if they're not based solely on a medical necessity. We can see higher costs if indeed we have bribery and kickbacks in place. We see a general lack of trust between patients, healthcare professionals, and medical device companies and distributors. And finally, just disruption to the supply chains, which is something that now more than ever we cannot tolerate. And lastly, nobody wants to be subject to a corruption prosecution. I don't even need to explain why that's a bad thing, but let's just say we all would like to avoid it. Now that I've described the challenge, I am going to talk about the good news. The good news is, especially in the Americas, AdvaMed has found a lot of enthusiasm on the part of distributors to join us in our quest for higher standards of integrity in the healthcare and medical device space. I will just tell you all, previously I'd done a lot of work in Asia, and I was very pleasantly surprised when I came to work on Latin America issues with the enthusiasm of the partnership that was being proposed by distributors in the region. They want to have high ethical standards. They want to understand better the expectations of the medical device companies that they are working with. They want to understand better the guidance coming from the government, the legal underpinnings. The problem is they don't have a lot of resources to figure this all out. And when you add in the cultural differences that I mentioned earlier, especially when working with multinational companies, it can be a very difficult problem indeed. So we set about to empower the distributors, just like Hugo mentioned. That is the solution. Once the distributors got a better understanding of the ethical principles, they quickly ran into another problem, which was they just didn't have the resources to build the compliance programs. As Hugo stated, many of these are very small companies. Sometimes it's just a family. Look at Johnson & Johnson. You have a huge compliance department, and it can be very it can feel like you can never reach that same high standard. So what we did is we worked with our companies to develop a digital tool, which is designed to increase transparency, increase the ability of distributors and other third parties to abide by codes of ethics. We've created something that is simple to understand and easy to translate. And it focuses on what the distributors need. It starts very simply with basic templates for codes of conduct and builds up into a more complex set of tools. We have been working hand in hand with distributors and government representatives through our Inter-American Coalition for Business Ethics to put this together and to finalize it. So just so you know how we came to create this toolkit, AdvaMed convened a team of our member company compliance officers, and we also worked with graphic designers, web developers, and professional translators. And you can see the names on the slide here. I won't go through all of them, but it's a good representation of the medical device industry from around the world. So I really do think this represents the best thinking from our best experts. You can go to the AdvaMed website. I know on the screen here is a very long link. I will try and pop that up in the chat after I'm done speaking. But you can just go to advamed.org/ethics and you can navigate to the Distributor Compliance Toolkit. We have already translated it for you into Spanish and Brazilian Portuguese. And we've had that checked by our local reps in country. So hopefully that's all accurate. But the other good news is you can edit this and customize it for your own use. We deliberately did not put AdvaMed's brand on here because we want you to feel like distributors and distributor associations and MedTech associations in the region can just build this into your own program. So feel free to put your logo on there. Let me know if you find any translation errors. We can certainly correct the source documents. But that is what we have put together for your use. And that brings me to the end of what I wanted to present today. I'd be happy to answer any questions. And I know we have a great panel coming up to talk about how this is being implemented in practice. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Hugo and Nancy, for these terrific perspectives, and of course the overview of the Global Distributors Compliance Toolkit, which is truly unprecedented, right? To have that open source, freely available resource like this available to the entire region. Let's now bring into the conversation some brief observations by medical technology distributor and manufacturer association leaders. So I'd now like to welcome together with Hugo and Nancy, so we'll keep you guys into the conversation, but bring together with you Bruno Boldrin, Executive Director of ABRAIDI and President of ABIIS, joining from Brasilia. Victoria de Castillo, Executive Director of CADIEM, joining from Buenos Aires, and Ana Riquelme, Executive Director of AMID, joining us from Mexico City. So we're honored to have you all with us and sort of building on the great discussion that we've just been having with Hugo and Nancy. Bruno, could we start with you? Give us some observations from the Brazilian context of what you see, and then from there we'll go to Victoria and then Ana.
Olá, Andrew. Olá, Nancy, a todos do painel. Eu vou tomar
Hello, Andrew, Nancy. I am going to speak in Portuguese since we have the simultaneous translation. So first of all, I would like to congratulate AdvaMed and everyone who contributed to creating this toolkit for distributors. It's such an incredible material that helps our associate, our members. ABRAIDI, the Brazilian Association of Importers and Distributors of Health Products, has over 200 companies associated in Brazil. It's a huge country, it's a continental country, and we were able to launch and contribute with some suggestions with Nancy and other people that work together. So we contributed to creating this material and also launched the kit on June 1st in our basic course of compliance that had over 150 participants. Just for you to have an idea of the success and the importance of this type of toolkit, we've had so far 230 downloads of the material. It is as if each company had done one download. Almost 77% of our members have already downloaded that kit, which means a lot to us. We've had also 600 accesses to our website. So this is something, the toolkit is something that really complements and really helps the distributors, the importers. And just like Nancy mentioned, in a lot of cases, and in our Brazilian case, they are small businesses, they are family businesses with not so much structure or with a huge need of training. And that is why this toolkit is so useful to fill that void. Considering the theme of our panel regarding challenges of innovative solutions, and on behalf of distributors and importers, I would like to say that at the beginning we had two big challenges, which were the absence of quality information and information adapted to the reality of each member. So the kit and code of ethics and other materials that associations have been developing nationally and internationally, that together with training programs, workshops, will fill that void. Obviously, it has to be constantly updated. We know that regulations and market practices change all the time, but we have so far addressed that challenge once we have the toolkit and the training programs. Another challenge is to change or transform the principles. In the Inter-American Coalition, we've had the principles and maybe change those principles that serve the daily operations of those third parties. So how do we transform something that is a principle into a practical guidance that will make sense to them on a daily basis? And that is why we have to follow up the changes that the market suffers on the daily operations. We know that technologies and the world are evolving, business techniques are evolving, and we have to follow up and adapt the material accordingly to follow up on these changes. Now we have two other challenges. The first one is connected to integrity as something that is restrict to the industry behavior, including importers and distributors, for example, regarding healthcare professionals. We are doing our homework, but we have to expand that concept of integrity to hospitals and insurers, so that integrity is not contained, so to speak, to abiding by law, but it has to be present when you deal with the clients, with distributors, which are chronic problems that we have here in Brazil.
Our distributor has a lot of issues, so we need to kind of bring this integrity also to an economic dimension. We're not going to go into a commercial discussion of companies because Brazilian law doesn't even allow that, but it is imperative that we bring these players into the table to discuss with them things such as there's no point saying that there is a compliance system in the case of hospitals or health insurances, and when you go to negotiate with a supplier, you have a predatory attitude because you have a biggest market share. So that is essential for the balance of the health system, at least in Brazil. And of course, that is essential that industry and distributors are together in this discussion. And a last challenge that I'm going to leave for you is for the general law of data protection, which is inspired on the data protection from Europe. And it has been going on in Brazil for a year, and it certainly has the potential of changing not only the way that patient data and health professionals' data are handled by the system, but also changing processes between the actors of the health system. So this is a very important law, and it's fundamental that the whole hemisphere is watching that, because today it's in Brazil, tomorrow it's in other countries, and when we exchange information, we help each other. Just to have a relationship with industry and customers, hospitals or insurances, it's important that us as industry and coalition have strict relationships with these other players, and then ethical principles in healthcare, which is an excellent partner. We can talk to a lot to try to exchange information and move on together. So I would like to just leave these considerations here, say congratulations to all the organizers, and thank Andrew, Nancy, Hugo, Anna, and Victoria for being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bruno, for these great observations. And we have about 6 minutes left maximum, so apologies for the shortness of time. But Victoria, maybe we could change it to you from the perspective from Argentina. So maybe just a couple of minutes, and then we'll turn it over to Anna.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I will speak in Spanish if you allow me. Antes que nada, agradecer a los organizadores.
Before anything, I would like to thank and congratulate all the organizers for this event and how relevant it is. I would also like to thank you for inviting me, for being here, and Andrew, Nancy, Hugo, Stephen, everyone who's behind it. Thank you so much. And the work that we all do together is always a very powerful thing. And now I would like to thank everyone, the Argentinian Chamber that creates more than, a lot of companies, much of the sector in billing. And really it's an interesting mix because we have multinational companies and local companies as well, big, medium, small companies. So we have a big mix and 3 or 4 subsegments of equipment, implantables, materials, and we also have manufacturer companies, importing companies, distributing companies. So we have a bit of everything. And this is actually something that it really nourishes the relationship inside our chamber of exchanges. And the focus and what we have to do with our third parties and distributors to share with you, 80% are small companies actually, or medium companies, just like we were saying, sometimes it's a family company and the owner does everything. And that seems to be a big challenge as well. And maybe to share, the word is innovative solution. I think that's maybe an exaggerated adjective, but I do know that this, the adjective efficacy, maybe it's not that great. It's not as appealing, but I would like to share with you for distributors, a tool that we use and that has been very effective. And it has to do with capacitation, but with training in like 3 different elements. One is theory, practice. So in the morning we have theory, in the afternoon we have practice. So like going outside and doing activities and also identifying processes. So it goes from company to company, and here they're the ones who are following the process. So for many different sectors in the company, we have follow-up, and the companies that participated with support of a help desk for a year, because we know that after the challenge is to be able to implement, right? After training, we have a challenge of implementation. So we were able to have a capacitation in 2019. A lot of our companies, distributors, etc., were able to participate. And now we have a little bit of an advance. And the challenge is to implement what we call an integrity passport, which is the virtual capacitation in 4 days. So 4 journeys, theory and practice as it was before, also with support, but now with the support of mentors that collaborate for a year to be able to have a code of ethics and to be able to identify process. I wanted to say, and what we saw and put as an objective is that the code of ethics would have life. It wasn't just written, but it should be in the field, everywhere, should be in all of our channels. So I don't want to talk too much, and I think that I wanted to share this activity with you. So now I don't want to speak too much, and I want to, the debate table in 2019 is also very important to mention. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm here if you want to know anything else.
Thank you so much, Victoria, for your leadership. And as our last and final speaker on this session, Anna, we'll turn it over to you for just a couple of minutes to share your experience on this topic in Mexico.
Muchísimas gracias, Andrew.
Thank you so much, Andrew, and thank you to the organizing committee for this forum. And I am speaking Spanish. Of course, it will be translated so everyone can hear me. So firstly, let me tell you how this has been in Mexico over the last 3 years. And we've been having a government that is very much centered in the integrity topic when they're doing public purchases, and the pandemic did speed up this need from the federal government and from the Mexican Association of Innovative Industries, and I have a story to tell. This focus that the government has been having on the last 3 years has had a consequence that all industrial sectors need to have an integrity program established in their DNA of the companies. Unfortunately, the health industry, the one that I'm talking about for medical devices specifically, for many years, they have been anticipating this topic. And obviously, we have been having some accelerated steps that we have shared with the authorities. But no questions, this has made us make a decision that every 2 years, we need to review our code of ethics to specifically be able to analyze with enough time, what are the areas of opportunity that we can fix to try to mitigate any risks that is inherent to the participation with our distributors. Just to mention that ABIIS has 40 multinational companies, but we have over 500 distributors. It's just like Brazil, for example, United States, and Argentina, like we mentioned. These are small, medium, big companies, but many of them are family companies where the owner is basically an employee with his family. So we have had to create some solutions specifically to follow them. Something that gives us a lot of strength is that since the beginning, ever since we've had the associations over 10 years ago, we have had a place for all actors with the same profile. That's what I'm trying to say. So even though the companies have a lot of different areas, the members are included in all activities and in all important decisions, and it's mandatory. So in this sense, we have had a lot of challenges throughout the years. Paradise destinations, our commitment with integrity, we have overcome the personal data protection with third parties. We have had trainings about it, open to public, but very focused on our distributors. And we have had the Institute of Access to Information in Mexico, which is a government organization that deals with this data protection topic. And the virtual events have gotten us close to them, because we know that on Mexican Republic, we have a lot of distributors, like small cities in our country. But one of the biggest challenges that we have faced in 2021, and we're going to be working on it over the next couple of years, is the phenomenon of sub-distribution. How the distributors have had to also hire sub-distributors that are no longer under our direct umbrella, but that they are part of our distribution chain anyways of the products in Mexico, and how we can follow those as well and mitigate risk for any kind of action that may be considered as wrong or, not ethical. To finish, we have a lot of challenges to face, but no questions. Being part of this event and the Inter-American Ethic Coalition help us have, other than everything AdvaMed created, it's also helpful to be in the vanguard and to be able to face the challenges that we have been living in Latin America and to be able to have it successfully. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Anna, and all of you for joining this session and giving your thoughts on this extremely important topic and for the advances that are made. Thank you all so much.